So how does capital gains help you to make money? The tax law allows you to make money using capital gains, essentially building wealth. But for you to take advantage of the capital gains tax law to make money, you got to abide by certain conditions, which they call the exemption conditions. The exemption conditions are conditions that are set by the tax law for you to be awarded exemption from paying capital gains tax after selling your property. But what type of property is this that you can sell and not pay tax? So if you buy a property and that property is your main residence, you don't have to pay tax. So essentially, you can indicate that this is your main residence by actually residing at the property. That means your family has to be there. You have to have your belongings on the property. It must be in where you actually are residing, and you have things there. You have connections and services there. For example, electricity, gas, they must all be connected. You need to prove that this is the main place of your residence. That's a very important condition for you to be able to get an exemption to capital gains tax. The second other thing that you need to prove is that the property must be on a land which is less than 2 hectares. So if your property is on a land that is more than 2 hectares, you don't qualify for capital gains. But if it is less than 2 hectares, then you can qualify for capital gains exemption. That's a very useful thing for a person who's trying to build wealth. So, or essentially what you can just do is you can buy a property, reside there, but also actually make sure that it is less than 2 hectares. So you can actually do it in advance. In other words, as you plan to invest in property, you can actually plan to invest in property knowing that the property doesn't need to exceed 2 hectares. But the other thing is that you must not be making money out of the property. So essentially, this property should not be for making money. It should have been for your own risk. So the third condition is make sure you are not making money on the property. You are not buying so that you can rent it out, but you are buying so that you can actually reside on that property. How do you prove residence? Like I said, you must be living there, you must be having your family there, you must be having belongings there, you must also be having connections there to prove that you actually live there, and that the property should be less than 2 hectares, but also just to define what that property's nature needs to be. It needs to be a house, or a cottage, or it could be an apartment, or it could be if it's an apartment, it must be within a strata. Obviously, stratas are part of, they're part of a complex of buildings that, which can actually be identifiable and say this is unit number what and this is unit number what. The other thing is that it can also be in a retirement village. There are reasons why people might not choose to live on the same property for more than 6 years, or for at least 6 years. Some of the reasons are that people might get a job in a different part of town or in the same part of town, but essentially they can't continue to be residing in the same place and still be able to live their way of life. Because people might get a job in a different part, and it might still be very difficult for them to commute and still remain at the same place. So essentially, in that particular case, people are allowed to sell and get a proportion of the capital gains tax. So what is the relevance of capital gains tax? Capital gains tax allows you then to get an exemption from paying tax on a property that you had purchased as your main residence, and you had lived there at least for 12 months. Though if you can live there for 6 years, that will be the full advantage of the capital gains tax. In that case, if you live there for 6 years, you can sell the property and you don't have to pay tax. In other words, essentially, you are getting capital gains tax work to your advantage to build wealth. What is important is not just about investing in property, but also equally knowing where are the advantages of investing in property? How can you use the tax law to your advantage to build wealth? Because it's not just about buying and selling, it's also about buying and selling and knowing the law and using the law to build wealth. The point is, you shouldn't be going against the law. You should be working and using the tools that are available, that are legal, to build wealth. The government is promoting people to buy houses and live in the houses, but also they are giving advantages and benefits to people who want to live in their own properties, take advantage of the legal arrangements that are put in place by the authorities. Take advantage of capital gains tax. It is a tool, and an important tool that we have available to build wealth, knowing that you'll be able to invest. So the conditions that I was outlining today in summary is that you can invest in property, and once you invest in property, look out for opportunities for you to take advantage of the tax law and use it to your advantage to build wealth. Building wealth by taking advantage of the free tax opportunities that are available for you to buy and then sell your property at a later stage and use full advantage of the tax law not to pay tax legally. This is legal, this is acceptable because investing in property and buying property is actually not a very easy thing. So the government wants to invite and encourage people to keep investing in property, but also keep buying. This is different from someone who is trying to invest in property for rental. So this is mostly for people who want to invest in property for residents. Where are the opportunities for them to be able to build wealth? Just keep aware of the conditions that are available for you to take advantage of the capital gains tax and use them to your advantage to build wealth. Certainly, it will be a privilege for you to do so. If you haven't joined my channel, please subscribe on that button, and let's continue conversations like this.